So, some pretty big news just dropped recently. The Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard is in the finalization process and is finally clear from the lawsuit that was going on in Europe. And it's going to be closing for $69 billion. So, this is really big news because it's going to have massive impact on the gaming community as a whole. As much as people don't want to believe this, Blizzard games are a large mass type gaming company, so they have like huge reach to people. People don't want to believe it, but Diablo Immortal touches the far corners of Mordor at this point. I mean, we're talking about a game here that is a cash printer that seems to have no off button at all. I think this was actually a really good purchase for Microsoft because Blizzard is not a dying company. It really isn't. It just had a little bit over $2 billion in profit last year. Sure, they've been churning out some pretty shit titles recently, and the developers seem a little bit out of touch with what the community wants. But as far as making money, this thing is making money. It is a cash cow, and Microsoft cashed out. But let me talk about one of the biggest winners in this whole thing. Man on your screen, Bobby Kotick. So everybody's actually very relieved right now that Bobby's gone. We're no longer in Bobby's world, and now we are in Xbox Microsoft's world. But Bobby, like a bandit, kind of is just sailing away in a yacht filled with $400 million from this merger. And everybody seems to think that the gaming community is the one that won. And I feel like that's so far from the truth. I think Bobby is... we're still living in Bobby's world, and we really just don't know it yet. And there's going to be droves of people that talk about how much of a failure Bobby was to the scene, and he ruined all my favorite games, he ruined my life, he took all my money. But in a business sense, Bobby absolutely cleaned house. And if we reflect what we're actually doing and where the gaming industry going, and I'm not saying this is an awesome thing, but it's definitely super business focused. They have to be, right? To, ensure long-term success, ensure that these studios can output money, ensure shareholders pockets are filled to the brim. He has to do that, and he absolutely performed. There's a reason this guy was in charge for decades at this company. It's because he lined the pockets of the shareholders, which he reports to. He literally did the absolute top tier job somebody can do in their position, and then got away off the ship with the bag. This guy, I know I sound like I'm stroking Bobby off right now, but it's just hilarious to me that people think we won. And I'm going to say this again because I know people aren't going to listen, so I want to reiterate. I mean this in the business sense, right? Not the gaming sense. Yes, okay, like retail WoW is a piece of shit, okay? He's not a developer, though. He's the guy that pushes the microtransactions to make it look pretty so he can squeeze the last dollar. Just milk your tits completely dry. That's who this guy is, and he did it. He did it to the absolute maximum. And Diablo Immortal is probably Blizzard's greatest financial success that they've ever had, and will continue to have. And that's probably why, this company is probably going to look at more mobile type titles, because that's unfortunately, because I don't like mobile games, where gaming is going. Now, this has sparked a lot of controversy, like what's going to happen with the Xbox Game Pass, what's going to happen with Call of Duty, what's going to happen with all these different things that Blizzard takes part in now that Microsoft's in charge, right? So kind of just addressing those one by one. Let's start with the Game Pass. So Microsoft has always come off to me, especially recently, is they like their Xbox, they like pushing the Xbox, but they want to be like a secondary Steam almost. They want to be Steam. They want to have the centralized outlet where people go for gaming. They want to infect your computer with the bloatware that is their Xbox Game Pass. They're probably going to put the Battle.net launcher on next, and you're just going to be surrounded by their ecosystem to funnel you into their games and different microtransactions and revenue outlets that this company offers. I mean, it's even slightly confirmed from Phil Spencer over at Microsoft, the CEO. They've actually confirmed plans to introduce these different games. So like the Diablo titles, like World of Warcraft, possibly. It's interesting to think about how they would do that because it is a subscription model. So they do have plans to introduce those to Game Pass in some manner. So if you were worried that, hey, like, what are we going to do with this separate, launcher? Now it's all split up. They want to, ideally move them to the Microsoft ecosystem, right? Which brings up another concern. Are they going to get rid of the Battle.net launcher? I don't think so. I think the Battle.net launcher is an iconic type thing with this company, and I actually do like the Battle.net launcher, and some people don't. I actually do like it. I don't mind it. It is kind of like a mini Steam for those games, and I don't know, maybe I'm just a boomer and I'm just used to it at this point, but I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. And like I said, they might actually just include it with, they might add it to the bloatware for a new Microsoft download or something like that. The other thing that people are worried about is Call of Duty. So basically there is this 10-year deal between Microsoft and Sony that prevents exclusivity of this title, and everybody will, casual Andes have to get their fix of Modern Warfare, so people are worried that it's going to become exclusive to Xbox and probably PC, obviously, because Microsoft, right? I don't think that's going to happen. Like I said, I just want to reference back to that point of what I believe. This is all my opinion, but Microsoft wants to be. They want to be the universal gaming hub of the industry, right? They want, if they could get PlayStation titles on their platform, they 100% would. If it wasn't for this intense rivalry between Sony and Microsoft, I guarantee, there would be all the exclusives and everything in Game Pass. Xbox wants everybody to be able to touch their Game Pass. So let's do a little thought experiment with it, right? You have 1 million players in one corner and 100 million in the other corner. Which one do you market to? You market to the 100 million, right? You want the possibility, because even if you get 1% sales versus 10% sales in the 100 million, the 1% in the 100 million is much higher than 10% sales out of the 1 million. So you market to the 100 million, and the way they do that is basically cross-platforming and making it as available as possible to the public as they can. So I think gone are the days where hardware sales are something that companies really care about, because nowadays it seems like they use them as a loss leader. For example, the Steam Deck, most popularly, they basically create this thing at a loss to the company because they want more people in the Steam ecosystem. And I think that's exactly what Microsoft is doing, but trying to do it to scale. So as far as the win for the gamers, right? That's really what this is all about. Is it a W for gamers? I think it's a net neutral for gamers, because Microsoft is still going to try to push as much revenue and profit out of this as possible, and obviously they're a company, so they're going to want the same thing that Bobby did. Are they going to do it as well as Bobby did it? I don't know. Bobby absolutely wrecked it on the business end. He really did do a good job. As much as of what I think about Bobby, when it comes to the gaming world, and I can't let that obscure the fact that he literally rode off into the sunset with the bag. So essentially what we should look forward to and expect going forward is kind of more the same, right? There's probably going to be a calm, with mergers, what tends to happen is they let the company kind of adjust to the ecosystem of the parent company before they start really digging their fingers in. So it's going to be more of the same as far as, developers doing their day-to-day, pushing any current projects, things like that. They don't want to unsettle what's currently in the works, right? They don't want to uproot a lot of the stuff. So essentially it's going to be more of the same. I mean, that's pretty much the TLDR on it. I wouldn't worry too much. We're just owned by a different big company with the possibility of, Diablo 4 ending up on Game Pass. I don't think Microsoft's going to do anything inherently toxic, or at least any more than what has already been done to us. They might push more mobile games, which I'm sure we already guessed was going to happen. Bobby's going to be with the company till the end of 2023, and then he'll move on to other ventures, and well, I guess we'll see what happens next. Make sure to tell me what you guys think in the comments, if this is a net positive for the gaming industry, because I personally do not. I think it's, like I said, a net neutral. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and just remember, just because it's not called Bobby's world anymore doesn't mean we're not living in another CEO's world.